Mr. Lindsay will now cut the cake. 100 years. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Thank you, Mr. Lindsay. Just before we have the dinner and the entertainment we will have while dinner is being served, just a slight change on the program. I will now ask Father Kevin Morton to say grace.
Thanks, Gordon. It gives me great joy to be here tonight. I've learned a lot from Green Island. I'm now Land-Up-Lay Secretary of Ravensbourne. Mainly because of the Island Boys. I'm Polynesian chaplain. And thanks one and all. When they asked for a representative from Ravensbourne for Green Island, I said, I'll do it. I had to come home. Thanks very much for the invitation. There are many Island boys who can't be here tonight, who wanted to be remembered. Puvalu Blake, who played for Green Island in the beginning. He is now married, got about 3 kids. Living over in Tonga. There's quite a few of the Cook Island boys who wanted to be remembered, who cannot be here tonight. And now we'll just get a bit of formal bit with God in it somehow. I don't know how. Look what you did to me playing down here. Look what happened to me. Hawthorne heads and all, there's Patrick. Let's now pause for a moment and just think what we're doing. We're going about to eat. Let's praise God for the food we're about to receive. Let's pray. Lord, we thank you for the 100 years you have given to this club. We ask you to bless each one of us. Be with our families. Be with us tonight. And bless the food we are about to receive through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Very good.
If I could just have your attention just for 1 minute before the meal is served. We've purposely delayed this next toast, and it's not on the agenda, if you want to call it an agenda. But I would certainly like to just dwell on it a wee bit. At the moment, we've covered past members, famous members, hard case members, you name them. I think the general speeches have covered them all. And Lindsay's been in the lot. But getting back to seriousness, there's one wee part of the club, well, not a wee part, one part of the club that we've purposely left. That is for the players of today. Now, as we look around the club, you've got to look around with pride. And I think they showed their pride, in my books anyhow, was on yesterday and Saturday. And there is a lot more teams in this club than the senior team, but I'll just dwell on that a wee bit. And all I can say, yeah, righto, Hedge, I think it was Hedge, right? And all I can say as far as yesterday went, they showed that the green and gold weren't going to be put down for anybody. I thought the only person who was going to be put down was me. And I'm sure that my heart couldn't have taken it a great deal longer, but anyway, we survived. But right through the club, we got players from schoolboys of so big, and I had the pleasure yesterday of going around as many games from schoolboys up as I could get, and it was really thrilling to see the numbers coming through. As far as I'm certainly not going to cover all the teams. The schoolboys are very, very strong, as I did mention. Our senior team is doing us very, very proud at the moment. And I would ask every, I suppose we'd call it non-playing member of the club at the moment, to stand up, charge your glass and drink a bumper toast to the players, because that's what this club is all about. The present players. Thank you very much. Thus, and so say all, for they are jolly good fellows, for they are jolly good fellows, for they are jolly good fellows.
Just the band. Sunday morning, there lies a body, just oozing life. And someone sneaking around the corner. I call out to someone being back tonight. Oh, there's a tugboat down by the river, don't you know? Western mailbags are just drooping on down. Hey, well, that cement is just, it's there for the wage here. 5 against 10. Oh, Mackey's back in town. Now did you hear about Louis Miller? He disappeared, babe, after throwing out all in the heart of cash. And now Mackey's beds like a sailor. Oh, could it be our boys done something right? And now I said, now chicken to drink. Yeah, get a diver. Yeah, oh, Mr. Lighter Lenya. Yeah, oh, Lucy Brown. And now the love goes on the right place. Now that Mackey, he's back in town. One more time now, chicken to drink. Yeah, get a diver. I look up the goal to Mr. Lighter Lenya. Yeah, oh, Lucy Brown. And now the love goes on the right face. I know that Mackey's, yeah, back in town. Look out, old Mac, he is back. Man, right? That's the guy with us. Okay. See if we can find. You got me out there? Come on, gentlemen. You stay out there. Right. We got another one up there. Where are they going to? Someone that's not eating. All right, come on. He looks very dejected there. Come on, let's get him up. Come on. You're right. You look like a waiter with this, come on. Come on out. We got 2 of them. Come on out. Okay. Woo. Right, give him a big hand, come on. Right, come on, they deserve better than that. You gotta make it look like a waiter with a tie, right? Come on back here so they can see you. Right, okay, thanks. Right, okay, now we're gonna have a little competition up here, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get the guys to do something for us, and hopefully, if you do as well as you're doing now, you might win yourself a bottle of wine. Right, this is what we're gonna get you to do, guys. Let's have a listen to the song. It goes like this. What song's that? Remember? All right, it's called the Can-Can. Okay, then what we're going to get the gentlemen to do is, first of all, so we can get everybody watching, I'd like the guys to roll their trousers up to their knees. All right, thank you, guys. Look at that, no hesitation at all. That's great. Okay. Jesus, have you ever seen knees like that, guys? Look at that. Hey, you don't get a bottle of wine that way. All right, guys, now, I'd like you to take off your tie. All right? There we go, right. Okay, well, put it anywhere you like, but it doesn't help in the competition. Actually, seeing this, what's your name? You're not got a name. I can't remember. Can't remember. All right, we'll go to the second one and come back to you. Daffy. Daffy! This isn't Donald, is it? Oh, it is? Right. Okay, we've got Daffy and Donald, right? What we're going to do is we're going to get the guys to see how good they are at getting the old leg up in the can-can, right? So we go to the first one. They give us the music. And what we'll do at the end of the competition, we'll get everyone to clap, and the loudest clap gets the prize, all right? So you've got to watch this very carefully, right? Okay, we'll get Daff to go first. All right, so Daff can come out here. Right, Donald, you stand back there. Right, here we go. Let's have some music. What you do is kick your legs up. Look at this. 1, okay? Come on now, keep it going. Here's the stuff. Come on, that's fine. Yeah. Lovely, right. Okay, not too quick yet. Come back here, Donald. Come on, Donald. Come on, back. Right. Okay, now it's Donald's turn. Here we go. Right, ready? Is it cold down there? He's ready for the night by the looks of it. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, that's a slow tempo. Right, now. Okay, now I'd like to hear you. Applause, please, first of all, for Daffy. Now your applause for Donald. We actually seem to have a split decision here. Speaking of split, never mind. He just realised, I think. Yeah. Right. All right. So I think they both deserve something. So while you're doing that up, we'll grab a couple of these. I'd like to thank them both for coming up and doing a bloody good job. Thank you very much. One for you. Give them a big hand. Come on. Let's see them back in their seats. You better get your tie. Yeah. Good on you.
Gordy for mayor.
I've just been told, now tell the bastards to shut up. Thank you. Ungainly, unorthodox, and wonderfully effective, with one of the biggest hearts ever to step on a cricket ground. That's what the press of the day said. Our special guest played in the golden era of Australian cricket alongside such great names as Ian and Greg Chappell, Ian Redpath, Dennis Lilly, Rod Marsh, Jeff Thompson, and Doug Walters. He is not only remembered for his 138 wickets in 34 test matches for Australia, but for his sense of humour and fun, which earned him a special place in the hearts of cricket followers throughout the world. When he retired from the playing arena in December 1981, it was his personality that made the transition from cricketer to media work, of which he now pursues naturally. This gentleman got up and left Adelaide this morning on the 7:45 flight, flew all the way here to be with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives us very great pleasure to introduce to you the man they call Tangles, Max Walker.
Don't worry about them.
Who is that guy?
Thank you very much, Gordon. You look $1 million with that gold chain hanging around your neck, mate. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be here tonight, particularly on such a fantastic occasion as a centenary. Just to be parked here on the bitumen road is unbelievable, really. And then to be batting number 11 under the big top, shit. What is the world coming to, really? Actually, I think I might beat you to question time. Usually some bugger stands up and said, what was your best performance ever? Well, I can tell you now, it was under a palm tree in Barbados in 1973. In fact, I'm still not sure what she looked like. nevertheless, there was just a cool breeze blowing through the body. Oh, yeah. I suppose these days I'm not really playing a lot of cricket. In fact, I'm trying to add a bit of culture to the ABC. That's not always that easy. I mean, generally you get to the ground and you get up to the commentary box, and I'm not too sure if you know the guy, but you run into a guy like Norman May. Norman's got one bung eye. You're not too sure which one's looking at you, you know, really. It's very hard to get off that crook one back on the right one without him seeing, you know. But I suppose it is very nice to still be very close to the game. That's been very good to me, and I think it'd be wrong not to talk a little bit about last summer in Australia before I get on to the underarm incident. I thought I'd push that back a bit. In fact, I met Alan at the airport and he shook hands with me, but he didn't say hello. He turned my knuckles over and said, "What, no grass stains?" In fact, I suppose if you look at that Pakistani versus Australia series, they didn't do too well, the Pakis. In fact, I don't think any of them had a good tour. Only Imran Khan. He didn't take a wicket. He didn't make a run, but by jeez, he had a bloody good tour, didn't he, eh? But I think if I could be just serious for a brief moment, I promise it'll only be bloody brief. I think if you do look back on that series, and it wasn't a great series, I think we'll all appreciate that it'll be remembered for the end of a great era. We see Lilly, Marsh and Chappell say goodbye in the one test match up in Sydney, the 5th test match, and I can't remember a more devastating week in Australian sport than to see those fellas sort of go by. Whether you hate their guts or you love them. I mean, I ran into a bloke in a pub the other day, and he said, "Yeah, what's this Dennis Lilly on about? I mean, is he what? You know?" I said, "He's all right, Dennis. Don't worry about that." I said, "Listen here, mate." He said to me, this bloke, a drunk he was, had a truckload too. It was only 12 o'clock in the afternoon. He said to me, "You know why Dennis Lilly wears that headband, don't you?" I said, "No." He said, "So you can't see where the bastard's been circumcised, you know?" And I go, "Right." But, of course, you've got to get it into perspective. And you look at Greg Chappell. He was the first to announce his retirement, and he really was a man possessed in his last innings. He went on to make 182. He passed Bradman's record. Not that he really passed his record, and Bradman sort of scored his runs in about half as many games. But Chappell was fantastic right to the end. There was a kaleidoscope of shots after he'd scored his 100. He went past 7,000 runs for an Australian player, the only man ever to score that many runs in test matches. And probably there hasn't been any better sight on a cricket field than Greg Chappell in full flight. I mean, aesthetically, he's a magnificent player. I didn't think he'd cop that reception after what he did to you. And of course, Dennis Lilly, whether you like the guy or not, doesn't matter. I think he had the philosophy that if he was fit enough to walk through the gate, then he was fit enough to play. And I think I wish more sportsmen had that same attitude, really. I mean, 110% guts and determination, whether he rattled or whatever, but he was strapped up like a racehorse on occasions. But he didn't just go out there and play. You know, he took 4 or 5 or 6 wickets. And I mean, he was a freak and the greatest fast bowler I've ever seen, perhaps the world's ever seen. He really was magnificent. I don't think we'll ever forget those eyeball-shattering appeals down on the knees. He wasn't religious at all, Dennis Lilly, but by jeez, he gave those umpires buggery, didn't he, eh? He used to follow through, Lilly. He wouldn't pull up 2 or 3 feet from the batsman. Yeah, 7 or 8 inches. I mean, you look at 3 seasons ago, he really followed through, kicked the shitter out of the Pakistanis. In fact, I believe you think so highly of Dennis Lilly over there that you've just named a mountain after him. Why kick a Paki? And of course, the other little fella with the billiard table legs, Rodney Bacchus Marsh, he was great. He started off his career as iron gloves. He dropped a couple, clang, clang on the old Onkaparingas, and down they went. But he came through 355 dismissals later. He proved too that he must have been one of the great wicket keepers the game's ever seen, and he was a remarkable character too. You didn't even have to be a good lip reader to know what Rodney Marsh was on about on television, did you, eh? And he certainly added a lot of colour and bite to the game of cricket, and you know, it is a sad day really when you think that they're all gone, no more. And I think I've been privileged enough to play alongside them. We've all been privileged enough to either read about them or see them on the odd occasion play, and I think whatever sport they may have played, I'm sure that they would have been successful because of their enormous heart and enormous ability to really dig the boots in, you know, at all costs. I mean, that's the name of the game. You can, when you've got to win, haven't you? And I was going to get on to the Englishman's after the underarm incident, but you can beat an egg, but you can't beat fixing up a pom properly, can you? I mean, shit, unbelievable stuff. I suppose also after the Pakistanis last year, we had the West Indies out in Australia, and I think quite predictably they went on and won the final of the Benson Hedges World Series Cup. And it was a great performance. They are a magnificent side. I think their athleticism is second to none. Their fielding enormous, probably 20, 30 runs better than the average team. But to me, that one-day competition's all about day-night cricket, and if you haven't seen it, I mean, live, it is a marvellous spectacle. You don't come off a cricket field at 10:30 at night and just go to sleep. I mean, the wheels are running around, the adrenaline's really going, the blood surging through the veins at a million mile an hour, and you've got to relax. You go down to King's Cross or somewhere like that. I mean, it was just... But of course, if you're a West Indies, they're a tight net side, and they've all usually got something organised, you know, in a queue. But never... Anyway, last summer we had the, as I said, the West Indies out here, and it was the day-night match up in Sydney, Australia versus the West Indies. The game finished, and of course the West Indies, after the game, had a beaut little party organised. I mean, it was a beauty. Over Sydney Harbour Bridge, North Sydney. A lot of Australian birds there, magnificent. I mean, yeah, you can imagine the big bird, Joel Garner, he's just standing up against the ball. He's waiting for whoever. 6'9" of the bastard, yeah. And of course, the Black Bradman, Viv Richards, he's just standing up against the wall like the old bull waiting for it all to happen, you know. The big sign, "I'm available," on top of his head, you know. Never hurts to advertise, does it really, you know? And of course, Viv's apprentice, Desmond Haynes, like a rat up a drain pipe, he's got a lot of moves going, don't worry about that. There's a lot of rum at the party, a lot of good music, and I mean, what more could you want at a party? I mean, it's a bit similar to tonight, actually, when you think about it. Magnificent night, 3 a.m, that ticks around fairly smartly, and a very strong disciplinarian, Clive Lloyd, one of the great captains the world's ever seen. He said, "Righto, boys, that's it. Back to the motel, 3 a.m. in the morning." Can you imagine Kim Hughes getting his boys back to the motel at 3 a.m? It's another story too, that one. Ooh. Got blonde hair and blue eyes, but shit, can he captain a team? 27 games for 4 wins, eh? Yeah. I guess if he was managing director of your national company, you'd have to sack him. But I believe he's going to get the job against the West Indies for the tour out here against Australia in the summer. But, well, that's it. But anyway, as I said, Clive Lloyd got his troops to go back to the motel. Remember, 3 a.m. in the morning, and of course into their courtesy cars, white BMWs, if you don't mind, you know. Off they take into the night. The first car contains Viv Richards and Joel Garner. Obviously Viv's driving because Joel can't get the knees under the steering wheel, right? They get halfway over the bridge, And the big bird, Joel Garner, he's under a lot of pressure. Got the legs crossed, the fingers crossed, the whole lot, yeah. He's dying for you and me, he really is, yeah. He said to Viv Shop, stop the car, because dead set, halfway, right across Sydney Harbour Bridge. 3 a.m. in the morning, it's that dark, they both got out, no bugger could see them. And here they are, standing on the balcony of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. And the first man to address the problem was Joel Garner. Standing there looking down at the water, and he's coughed twice. And he looked down at Viv, he said, Jesus, the water's cold, mate, isn't it, eh? And of course, Viv Richards not to be outdone. Viv's coughed 3 times. Yeah, it's not that deep, is it, mate? So, actually, I love talking about Joel Garner because I think of the contemporary cricket players in the world today, he really is one of the true characters. He's unique in his size. He's a magnificent, he is big, honestly. If he swung around quickly in a shower, he cut 3 of his mates in half. Geez, you think I'm terrible. How are you going? But I suppose it is nice to talk about the big bird, and he's an incredible character. He didn't come straight from India to Australia last year because he was injured. He had a crook shoulder and, of course, spent about 3 or 4 months in the Caribbean before he came out to Australia. And, of course, very conscious about his fitness. He was worried about guys like Wayne Daniel and Winston Davis that had done fairly well in India. And a bit keen on the fitness, particularly when he got up to Sydney. He used to love running along the beach, the Bondi Beach in Sydney, you know. And imagine this big black purple frame running on the shallows of Bondi Beach. And all little dolly birds there on the back wall, up against the concrete back wall, surfboards, and leaning at 45 degrees. It's about 2 or 3 balls of wool making up the crochet bikinis on the 2 birds. 2 dolly birds there, and they're having a bit of a chat, and they're fascinated by this guy. I mean, just have a look at him. Oof. Curiosity obviously killed the cat, didn't it? But they can't come to a decision. No way known. And the little blonde one thought, bugger it, we'll go down, we'll approach him in the shallows. Down they go. The big bird stops in his tracks. These 2 little birds never had it so good. I mean, they're looking up at him, look at it, longingly. Joel's trying to check his toenails out and he's having a lot of trouble, you know. They are big girls. And, of course, they're embarrassed. I mean, they said, look, Joel, you know, you're a big man. I mean, you really are a big fella. And sort of my friend and I, we've had a bit of a chat. And, well, you know, if it's not an unfair question, sort of, well, is it true that sort of right over the whole lot of you, you're in proportion sort of right over the whole lot of you? Joel said, gee, no, if that's the case, I'll be 8'6". I suppose I should dwell on myself for a moment. It's one of my favourite subjects. But I left Tasmania way back in 1967 as a batsman across Bass Strait, and I thought I'd make it on the mainland as a batsman, but I think for the better part of my career I've been a good player out of luck, really I have. I think I suffered more from lack of opportunity than lack of ability. I mean, because I've had to bat between mental heavyweights like Dennis Lilly, and I just mentioned Dennis, Jeffrey Thompson, a railroad scholar, Tomo, isn't he? Oh, shit, have a look at him. And of course, here's Shadow Lenny Pascoe. None of the buggers can count up to 3. If they do happen to block 3 in a row, the slog definitely on that 4th ball, eh? So when he runs it, I scored, had to come in a hurry. but I guess the really good judges of a cricketer in my time, like Ian Chappell and Greg Chappell, they both looked very seriously at me for the role of a night watchman. Now, I could cope in the old days going to bat 10 to 6 at night, mad quick with a red ball in his hand, trying to knock your head right off your shoulder blades, while the so-called good batsmen, 3, 4, 5 and 6, all back in the dressing sheds, trying not to stain their jock straps, mind you. I mean, you just think about it, the sheer construction of the garment makes it difficult, doesn't it, eh? I mean, not the jockettes, the lacquer bands, right, you know? But when you play against sides like the West Indies, 4 or 5 big black fellas all capable of bowling at 100 mile an hour, it does become a reality. What's more, it's difficult to walk too. You do know what I'm talking about, don't you, eh? Anyway, 1977, along came a guy named Kerry Packer. And whether you like Kerry or not doesn't particularly matter, I suppose. But along with Kerry Packer came World Series cricket. One day in 1977, Kerry got together over lunch with 4 or 5 of his mates. And that sort of money, you've got to have mates, haven't you, eh? They were all after a free feed. Now, they got a free feed of white wine, red wine, champagne, liqueur, port, the whole catastrophe. Now, they knew nothing at all about the game of cricket. In fact, still know nothing about the game of cricket. Yet come up with the most incredible ideas like playing cricket at night with a white ball in coloured gear. Well, just how good does Vivi Richards look in nipple pink, eh? Tony Gregg in pastel blue. Lovely big poof to Greggy, isn't he, eh? I don't know whether you get Channel 9 over here, but the big bastard, he's on, what do you call it, that weather wall these days, the big ergometer. You know, puts the needle in the ground, play a comfort condition. Either you've got a sweaty jockstrap or you haven't. I mean, it's a lot of bullshit. Unreal, Greggy. My mate, Rodney Marsh in Lemon. Really sets off the road maps and the eyeballs after a night out in the grog, doesn't it? Anyway, along with all that change, so too did the role of a night watchman change. No longer was I going in to bat 10 to 6 at night. Try something like 20 past 10 at night. Can you imagine walking out the middle of the Sydney cricket ground 20 past 10 at night? I mean, it's pretty obvious you haven't thought a lot about it, but... Can you imagine walking out in the middle of the Sydney cricket ground, the big lights blazing away like mad? Imagine playing against the West Indies. Never go out without the crash helmet on. You just may need it. Normally the idea is to go out, you take block, you mark centre if you're a great player, if you're a little less than ability like myself and a lot of Pakistanis, bit outside the leg stump, give yourself a bit of a... Not many great players here tonight, is there? You all bat outside the leg stump, don't you? Anyway, then the idea is to look around the ground from third man to mid-off, way around the long leg, just like all the good players do, down over the bat. Even though the visor of your crash helmet's fogged up, you try and manage to smile at the umpire down the other end. So he may just keep his hand in his pocket a little longer than normal, you know. Particularly on a cold night, not a lot else to do out there, is there, really? And you look back 30, 40 yards back beyond the umpire, and there he is. Shit. It's Joel Garner. And he's standing in front of a black sight screen. Now, you've got to remember, Big Joel is not 11:30. He is midnight, Joel Garner, isn't it? Very dark man. Never smiled a white man in his life, let alone an Australian batsman like myself. Imagine in those days, and even today, I suppose, judging on the performances in the Caribbean just a few months ago, the West Indies side contained 4 or 5 fast bowlers, all capable of bowling around 95 to 100 mile an hour. Now, if you don't know what that means, it means you've got precisely 0.25 of a second to go forward, back, let's piss off, right? Believe me, you don't get it nearly as often if you piss off, do you, really? You can imagine Big Joel out of that black side screen and he ain't smiling. Petting him, all you see is a white cricket ball about 4 foot above a shirt running straight towards you. He's up high on the toenails in the delivery stride, about to let the ball go, you know? Now those big moths that fly around the lights of the Sydney cricket. Not the little fellas that we get in Melbourne, about an inch and a half wingspan. No, 4 and 5 inch wingspan, enormous. Big Joel just about to let the ball go. One of those moths goes up the visor of a crash helmet. Jeez, what do you do? Do you say, hang on, Joel, just a minute, pal? Do you go up after him with the sausages on the gloves? All you can do is get your mouth open as wide as possible. And the legs get stuck in the back of the throat, you know. Jerkin juice gives you heartburn on the way down, yeah. Then a gold kookaburra itch in the left tit at 95 mile an hour. Takes a week to get the pain off the bucket, doesn't it? But I think cricket really does lend itself to you, but shit, they're queuing up here too. Look, 3 of them. But it is a magnificent game, cricket, and I know it's a rugby club here tonight, and rugby's a fantastic game as well. I think any game that you're involved in, sport's such a magnificent team game. Really, the communication ends. It is fantastic. And whatever sport you really get involved in, I've been lucky. I played footy early days, Aussie rules footy. That is after 5 broken noses. I wasn't going to get any better looking, so I quit. Took up being a specialist fine leg and third man fielder. I mean, shit. Right arm over left ear roll. How good can a bowler look, you know? Lance Cairns, eat your heart out. He's all right, Cairnsy, don't worry about that. Shit. Got some very fond memories of Cairnsy. It's only, well, a couple of years after that underarm incident that we had that the game on the MCG. It was a final, Australia versus New Zealand, in the space of 10 cricket balls. He has hit 6 of the most magnificent hits I've ever seen in my life. Dennis Lilly got the shits badly. But gee. Kansi's hit the first one-handed over square leg for 6. And Lilly said, if you don't bat properly, I'm going to bowl leg spin to you. So then he hit him over mid-off again. It's great. And Hoggy, he'd give him the warm-up ball that went straight back 20 rows into the members, the warm-up ball. And I guess Kansi's been living on that ever since. And magnificent stuff. I will never, ever again see anyone hit a ball that far. It was just magnificent. It's 189 metres long, the MCG, by 169 the other way. And it really is a big hit to get it out of the MCG, believe me. And it's almost 100 metres. He didn't just do it, he shit it in. What about that one-hander, you know? Magnificent stuff. I mean, it really was great stuff. And I suppose, really, that one-day game, and look, we've had a bit of a laugh and we've applauded Lance for his efforts there, and some of the like Viv Richards just a couple of nights ago, 189 in England. He fixed up David Gower's introduction to captaining England nicely. Although I must admit, I don't know if you'd heard, but England come back and they've won the second one-day international, which is a good effort. We've only got 3, so they were about 186 short, weren't they, really? But it's a great game, but really the ultimate game of cricket is Test cricket. I mean, that's where you've got to bowl the opposition side out twice to win. I mean, it's a skillful contest between bat and ball. The best 12 players from a country play against the best 12 from another. And that's really what it's all about. And to give you an idea what it's like out in the middle, I mean, you read a lot of bull dust in the media, and now I'm part of the Poison Typewriter Club, I guess. There's a lot of bullshit going on to you. It's very hard on the ABC, though. You've got to be very elegant. It's very hard for me to be, but, you know, I try very hard. Let's talk about, say, 1975, only because I played in that series when we had the Englishmen out. Mike Denness captained the side. Tony Gregg, it was to be his first Test match for England on Australian soil. And of course, he was told before he left England, you get out there to Australia, those colonial convicts, foul-mouthed, uncouth so-and-sos, they'll kick, they'll scratch, they'll bite, and do anything to take a wicket. And you're right, the advice was pretty right. No worries about that. The games leading up to the first Test match, not much happened. But remember, the first test match, the Gabba ground up in Brisbane, that was a comeback game for Dennis Lee. Remarkable comeback. Spent 6 months in a back brace. A lesser man wouldn't have even contemplated coming back, let alone sort of coming back and being so successful. I mean, it's a tribute to the guy's courage and determination. It really was superb. And the other bloke, Jeff Thompson, took none for 100 in his first test match against Pakistan, 72-3. He too was making a comeback. So all of a sudden, that good old Australian tart, Lillian Thompson's back in town, eh? Shit. The Poms didn't even reckon she'd give you a love bite, let alone bruise the rib cage. But they were wrong, weren't they, eh? The worst thing the Poms did, they bounced the shitter out of our tail. And our tail consisted of myself, Dennis Lilly, Jeff Thompson, and that great man of the Willow, Ashley Mallet. Well, Lily's not that courageous against anything just short of a length. Tony Gregg thought, well, bugger it, I'm going to cop a bit of flack. Why shouldn't I bounce him? So he did, 4 in a row. And on the 4th, Dennis just failed to get out of the road. The bat about there, ball got a feather just on the edge of the glove and it went through to Alan Knott, the keeper, put the hand up, the big appeal, the false teeth almost dropped out. He was given out. Lily's thrown the bat on the ground. Not happy. I think Greg Chappell summed up Lily saying in something like 2,000 hours of test cricket for Australia, I think Dennis has only been dull and boring for about 1 of those hours. And he wasn't about to be for the next 5 minutes either. Your average boat picks up the bat by the handle and walks off gracefully, don't they? Not Lily. He'd really spat the dummy. Picked up the bat by the toe, and he's got the black handle of the bat pointed straight down the track. Nice. I'm not out at the other end playing for the Red Inks, by the way. Greggy had followed through and he's pointing to the pavilion over there, you know. I thought, shit, he wouldn't hit him in the guts, would he? And I thought he might. And as he walked up past Tony Gregg, Lily looked up at him and he said something like, you'll get yours, sunshine, and I've cleaned that up one hell of a lot, believe me. I really have. Didn't take long for the big fella Greggy to get himself out in the middle of the Gabba ground, the moment of truth, the very next day. Can you believe it? Out he goes, ever so slowly. Takes block. He too marks centre, and Lily is halfway up the white lattice work of the side screen of the Gabba ground. Smoke coming out the ear holes. Oh, jeez, he can't wait to get at him. Oh, gee, is he? What? Oh, jeez, he is human. And then Greggy thinks, well, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a look around the field. Hasn't got far to look either. He's got second gully, first gully, 5th slip, 4th slip, 3rd slip, 2nd slip, 1st slip, Marshy, fine leg, slip leg gully, and Doug Walters at bat pad there. And not another bastard in front of the wicket. So the umpire has signalled play. And Lily at a frantic pace, he's down off the lattice work, charging in towards Greggy. He's got the bum out and the bat up, you know that. Rodney Marsh has adopted that stance now, but he wouldn't dare say that he copied it from Tony Gregg, and he's in LA. Well, I overhear my captain, Ian Chappell, say to Rodney Marsh, and I know because I was at fine leg slip, right? They were right in there. You know what Ian Chappell said? He said, Bacchus, or Rodney Marsh, he said, Bacchus? Is that right, Tomo's taking out Greggy's missus tomorrow night? Wow. Greggy don't know whether to stay in or pull out, you know what I mean? It's a bugger of a problem, but he had it, you know. He's there. And then his brother, Greg Chappell, only a 3rd slipper in those days, and Lily's still 12 yards off the delivery stride. Greg said to him, Bacchus, you reckon it'll be worth it, mate? He don't know where to go, really. He really don't know where to go, Jesus. I guess Greggy's still down there. Lily up on the toenails in the delivery stride. Beautiful action. Almost poetry in motion. He really is. He's charged in a magnificent action. Just about to let the ball go off the fingertips. And my mate Dougie Walters at bat pad, who'd been looking up the big fella's nostrils now for 42 seconds, never likes to be left out of it when there's a bit of a prank going on. Don't worry about that. Just as the ball left Lily's fingers, you know what the little fella did? He's given it the big... And of course, as the salivas hit the deck, so too did the ball. climbed up off a good length, went past Tony Gregg's nose, climbed over Marsh's outstretched hands, through for 4. No worry. I think that's what it's really all about out there in the middle here. I guess you meet some great players too. Some incredible practical jokers, guys like Doug Walters. He's an unreal character, Dougie. I didn't realise just how shifty he was until we get down to Georgetown, Guyana. Top end of South America, completely communist country. They took our passports from us. We needed a tax exemption to get out of the country. Georgetown, the capital, remember it's only about 120 miles away from Jonestown. Remember where they had that mass suicide? 400 or 500 had a drink one afternoon, pulled up real crook the next day. Oh, Jesus. You told me they were going to be bad, I tell you. Just encourage me on. But he is an unreal bloke, Dougie Walters, and I suppose after the 4th Test match that we had in 1973 over there, the lads wanted to go out fishing, and I suppose the best way I could describe it, that they go out in the River Demerara, a brown, murky, muddy river. They're out in a big dugout log. Ian Redpath is in the front of the log, Dougie Walters in the middle, and a bloke named Terry Jenner is in the back of the log. Now, Terry Jenner, he's got a can of beer in one hand, and the other hand's dangling over the side of the log in the brown, murky, muddy water. There's a big black man, 6'5", muscles on muscles, poling the lads along, you know, one after the other, just like that, you know. Whew. Away they go. And then the big black man said to Terry Jenner, he said, wouldn't leave them there fingers in that there water. TJ said, what do you mean? He said, them there piranha, they really love that white meat, man. They love that way. Wow. Hands come straight back out of the water. TJ, a bit of a smarty too. Suppose you got crocodiles and alligators over here as well. The big black man said, what do you think that is over there, a block of flats? 12-foot long alligator. Opens up the jaws, yawns and slide in the brown, murky, muddy water. The lads are sobering up real quick. Then the big Guyanese man, he said, watch out for them there 3 hippopotamus. If one yawns, we's dead, we's really dead. They don't want to fish anymore. Have not even wet the line. So they go into shore, and of course Doug, who's got a very warped sense of humour, decides he'd love a stuffed alligator to take back home to Australia, put on top of the TV set, and he's home in Bankstown, couple of cat's eye marbles. I mean, how good would it look, eh? The shit house. But Doug's got his wish, 4-foot long, greasy, slimy alligator, been out of the water an hour. Teeth, the whole bit, you know, not nice. So infatuated was he by this alligator that he nicknamed it Inchin after Inchin Ali, the spin bowler from Trinidad. So he takes Inchin Ali, the 4-foot long, greasy, slimy alligator, back to the Tower Hotel where we were staying. A 5-star hotel, actually, very dim stars, but it was there. Oh, 11 o'clock that night, of course, we had a couple of drinks. Doug had quite a few, actually, and he come up with a brainwave. About 11 o'clock, he thought, geez, we can have some fun with that greasy, slimy alligator, can't we, hey? You know what he did? He short-sheeted his roommate's bed, Terry Jenner. Beautiful, white, crisp sheets. And over there, it's around about 95 degrees at midnight, similar to what it is at midday. Very bloody hot, and humidity about 95%. And the lads, well, let's be honest, they don't wear a lot of pyjamas over there either. In fact, they don't wear any, right? So what do you think Dougie did with the greasy alligator? Slipped him in between the white, crisp sheets, didn't he, eh? Terry Jenner arrived at midnight with a truckload of bourbon and coke in the system. All he wanted was a yap. All Dougie wants to get him in the cot. Now, it's about a stalemate. There's not much happening, you know. TJ's wanting to have a chat, and Doug, finally, after half an hour, Dougie gets him into the cot. Now, you got to, let's be fairly honest about it. The inside of your thigh is fairly sensitive, isn't it, eh? Well, if it's not, get it checked out, because it bloody ought to be, yeah. So you can imagine, the deeper TJ gets in between the sheets, the closer the teeth get to the action, right? He wasn't happy, he sprung bolt upright, you know. Doug knew he wasn't happy the way he was looking at him, right? They didn't talk for 3 days. And the next day, of course, Dougie thought, wouldn't it be great to get my captain Ian Chappell? Never ever got him before, it'd be terrific, wouldn't it? So you know what he did while the captain was down at breakfast? Dougie got the master key back up to his captain's room, and they were going to play golf at Royal Georgetown, Guyana. Now, not many of you have probably been to Royal Georgetown, Guyana. Terrific golf course, really, there. If you get off the fairway into the rough, you send the little... I was going to say black fella, but I should say caddy. You send him into the rough. Now, if he doesn't come back immediately, you pick the ball, you put it right there. Don't worry, I have it. They're unreal. Those little caddies over there have all got the Dunlop rubbers made in India size 12. These enormous, great hammerhead toes hanging out the end of it, right? They can pick up a golf ball between the big toe and the second. They walk 50 metres up the fairway. Hey, boss, lovely lie here, boss. There, whatever. They're a big advantage if you're an ordinary player, believe me. So you know what Dougie done? Dougie has gone into the captain's room, as I said before, because Ian Chappell, a very tidy and a neat man. And of course, it's all right. Oh, sorry, I took a breath. But you can imagine, he's got the trousers folded over the chair. Diabolical pair of red and white check trousers. Would have to have been a tablecloth before they were stitched up. So you know what Dougie did? He folds 4-foot-long, greasy, slimy alligator in between the crutch of the trousers, like that. Puts them back over the chair. Goes back down the stairs and escorts the captain back along the corridor. He's standing there in the doorway. Come on, Chappelli, come. Get your act together, we're going to go. Come. Now, poor old Chappelli's under a lot of pressure. You can imagine, grabs the trousers, puts the right foot in, the deeper the right foot in, right? The closer the teeth get to the crutch of the trousers. And he's tried to pull out on the left, and here he is standing on the linoleum floor. Both trousers round the ankle, the teeth looking up at the Niagaras like that. Going, I got you. I think to this day, I don't think that Ian Chappell has even gone close to getting the little fella back. I mean, really. I think it's amazing that sporting teams, everyone's got a character in your side. You need them. When morale's a bit low, I guess you got 1 or 2 of them here. And in fact, you probably got 5 or 6 of them, be quite honest. But all that sort of stuff would drive you to the drink, wouldn't it? I mean, it would drive you. I don't know whether you read over here that Marshy, between Sydney and Heathrow, in 28 hours on an aeroplane, had something like 46 cans of beer. Now, that's a big drink, considering alcohol's supposed to get you to about 4 times the rate when you're up there in the air as it is when you're on the ground. He wondered why his legs didn't work at the other end. Had to get a little motorised buggy to get him through customs and immigration, you know. But in the north of England one night in 77, the lads, they did have a drink. I went to a beautiful little English pub, low ceiling, dim lighting, fantastic for a quiet, intimate night out. 2 blokes we talk about, Rodney Marsh and Dennis Silly. Now, they're having a drink just for a change, and of course in between bets too, I suppose. You got to look at them, the buggers. Maybe you didn't read that, but they got the 500 to 1 backing England. Made a lot of money, like £20,000 out of it, and they lost. Jeez, that's pretty bad stuff, isn't it? Well, you know, it's not a team game anymore, is it, eh? Well, yeah, they're having a drink, and I should also tell you, in England, you're in no danger at all of getting a cold beer, because they don't even store the beer close to the fridge, let alone inside the refrigerator. So here they are, they're drinking the Whitbread pint mugs, and the ice blocks are melting as quick as they can get them in. Down they go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour later, I don't know. But it's obvious after that sort of time, nature is going to take its course, isn't it? So Bacchus or Marshy said, little Pommy Bar, and he said, pal, what about the gents? What about the gents? Gives him directions, cross the bar, down the corridor, over the dirt track, come to the green sawtooth door, that's it. Bacchus says, bloody beauty, we're away. 5 forward, 3 back, bounce off the wall of the corridor. Down he goes, over the dirt track, come to the green sawtooth door. That's out. Very few sensations in the world even go close to that when you're under pressure, do they? Really are. 15 minutes later, Lisa, my little fat mate. He must have fallen in, So he gets the directions, not much quicker, mind you. Cross the bar, down the corridor, over the dirt track, come to the green sawtooth door, and he said, Bacchus, that you in there? What's happened? You fallen in or something? Bacchus said, no. He said, every time I go to stand up, some bugger grabs me by the Niagaras. Pushed the door open, he said, you silly bugger, you've been sitting on the mop bucket. Well, I suppose, what can I tell you another one about? What about, I mean, we talked about Dougie Walters before. As I said, he is a bugger. 1975, we talked about 73. We got to England the first time. Now, I promise I'll wrap it up on this and we can really get stuck into the rum and coke after that. But Dougie, we got to England. And it's about April, -2 degrees. In fact, last time I came here down Carisbrook against Otago, and was that cold, we set fire to a cricket bat. Tell you what, I'll give you the tip, nothing's changed either. Yeah, Richard wasn't playing, he was up in Auckland. looking after his suntan too, you know. He's still never going to pass for a black fella, is he? Pick up his accent. But, I suppose if you look at Dougie, and I said we get to England, it's about April, -2. First time we go to Lord's, coming down by the bucketful. Now Dougie been to most trick shops in the world at this stage. And he's fairly happy. There's not much fun hanging around a dressing room in any game, I suppose, in the rain. But Dougie, notorious for his card-playing ability, he's got the game of patience set out in front of him. And of course, a couple of packets of cigarettes in front of him. It was always a worry because blokes like Marsh and Mallet used to pinch his cigarettes, not 1 and 2 at a time, but 6 and 7 out of the pack. Didn't leave you many, did it, eh? Sure enough, same. This day, walk through, Mallet grabs 7, goes out to the balcony at Lord. Marsh grabs 6 and he goes over in the corner. And here's Ashley Mallet standing on the balcony at Lord's, legs wide astride, massive wall of water coming down from the balcony above, looks out into a sea of green. Here he is, Test cricket away on tour, not a worry in the world, winning games, this one about to be washed out, about to take the second puff, the cigarette. Dougie said to me, he said, Maxie, he said, wouldn't it be great if that first one was a live one? Get right up his skirt, wouldn't it? Jeez, oh. Sure enough, on the second puff of the cigarette, the black shit all over the face, you know. Dougie, no emotion at all, just goes on playing patience like this, you know. Then he said to me, Max, he said, don't leave just yet, mate. Got a couple of other irons in the fire here. Over there in the corner, Rodney Marsh writing one of only 2 letters home that winter. And he's stuck on my darling wife, you know. Well, he too's up there on the second puff. Look at the black stuff all over his face. And Dougie's wrapped. I mean, this is what Test cricket's all about, isn't it? I really get to know you, mate. Maybe that's why he never scored 100 in a Test match in England. But at that stage, through the door came Dickie Bird, you know, the little pommy umpire, the guy, that crazy golf hat on his head. Now, you couldn't blame Dick for coming in, could you? I mean, the alternative for Dickie Bird was to stay in the umpire's dressing room, 6 foot by 8 foot, couple of 4-inch nails down the coat up, with Tommy Spence, that other pommy umpire. Now, isn't he a bundle of laughs, Tommy Spence? Jeez, you want to get him along for your next night? I'll be over in 30 seconds. Jeez. So anyway, Dick walks straight over to Doug, who's playing cards, and he's always got a spare pack of cards left on the top right-hand corner of the table, just in case someone wants to go out in sympathy with him. Well, you won't believe it, this pack of cards got a beautiful nude blonde lady on the front. Dick couldn't get over there quick enough, you know, he's picking, have a look at that. Dougie said, hang on, Dick, that's nothing, mate. You want to have a look at the ace of spades inside. Ooh, she is sensational. Well, he couldn't get him open quick enough, could he, eh, really? But what Dougie didn't tell him is that that pack of cards contained 2 6-volt batteries. So as he goes to open them up, there, bah, on the fingers. Dougie looked at me and said, serve you right for taking your hand out of your pocket, you little bastard. Ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you very, very much. It's been marvellous to be here. Thank you.
What a way to wind up a Centennial weekend. Big hand for Max. Thank you very much. I've just asked... He's fantastic, isn't he? Unreal. Just before we wind this up, I'd like to ask Lex to propose a vote of thanks to Max.
Thank you, Gordon. Ladies and gentlemen, when it was first suggested that we invite a cricket personality to speak at our Centennial dinner, I thought this a little odd. Why not invite a rugby personality? After all, we are celebrating 100 years of rugby. However, what I didn't realise was the calibre of our guest. And I now know why our entertainment convener chose Max. I'm sure everyone would agree that we have been privileged to have you here, Max, sharing your thoughts and experiences with us. Max, we thank you for making the long journey over to join us in our celebrations. We wish you well in the future, and I would ask everybody here to express their appreciation in the normal Green Island manner.
Lex is now going to make a presentation of a club pullover and a club Centennial tie to Max, our guest.
Thank you very, very much for that. I really will feel at home in the green and gold. Somehow they just don't seem to be any other colours to me than green and gold. They really are superb, and tonight has been, for me personally, one of the great nights that I've ever been to. I can remember one other occasion where I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was in Wales, and again it was a group of rugby people that stood up and sang to us, 10 or 12 Australian players over there. And I thank you very much. I wish you well. Congratulations for yesterday. It's not over yet. It's a long way to go. It's not always going to be easy. Go out there and make it happen, and I'm sure you'll enjoy success. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Just to conclude tonight, celebrations, and probably, I suppose at this time, except for tomorrow, it'll be the weekend celebrations, 100 years of rugby in Green Island. It won't be forgotten for a long time, will it? And I hope that we go on to greater things. And I just ask Mort to wrap up the proceedings with his concluding remarks.
It's a very hard act to follow, isn't it? Terrific guy. We'll sew him up though, won't we? Firstly, we have Max's book, which he has presented to the club. He's also given one to the local cricket club, and we thank you very much, Max. We'll read it in the Dragon at half-time in the morning. Without prolonging you for too long at all, you're all keen to sort of sew yourselves up completely, those that haven't already done so. There are one or two who I think a genuine vote of thanks must come to. Firstly, in this day and age, sponsorship is a thing that has come into amateur sport. It has to for you to survive. And to this end, this club, the Green Island Rugby Football Club, from the top, thank sincerely the local business community, and in more recent times, those from further outside the district who have come to the fore and assisted us also. I won't break it down to names. You know the people on the local scene who have done more than their share. We thank them very much. To the Centennial Subcommittee, I must, on behalf of the club, thank them most deeply. I think we go back about 2 years when it was first sort of brought out. And who was at the helm? We had Bert Harvey, we had Neville Pringle, we had Keith Stewart, we had Ray McPherlin. They're the only 4 life members we've got. They kicked it off. Thank you very much, gentlemen. To the other members of the Centennial Subcommittee who have done so much over the last 12, 24 months, we thank you also. And could I also add genuine thanks to Brian St John, Secretary of that committee, to his wife Alison, to Kay Anderson, and to Daphne Laws for their very, very fine efforts. Genuine thanks very much. So, to wrap it up, drink up. There's tomorrow coming up. We'll have a clean up about 2 o'clock. If you all sort of get in behind, within an hour we'll have the whole bloody thing down. We can get back into it. But in the meantime, there's about 7 bottles of wine left, and I've got 6 of them here, Mark. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mort. All that remains for us is to enjoy ourselves. There will be 2 bands tonight, one down here for break dancing and the other upstairs. And the other one upstairs for the geriatrics. Enjoy yourselves.